Today on DC News Now, could the Washington Capitals and the Wizards make a move to Virginia? What we're learning. And a cold blast hitting the DMV. Meteorologist Damon Matson has more from the Weather Center. Then skipping class becoming too frequent for DC students.
This has a direct connection to our students' future.
Why advocates are sounding the alarm. Plus, we're stretching your dollar. Holiday gifts on a budget. What we found to knock off the Christmas wish list.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for DC News Now at noon. I'm Ben Dennis, in for Mark Hall. Developing now in Prince George's County, Maryland, over a dozen students have been reported safe at this hour after a fiery school bus crash. County Fire EMS responded here on I-495 near Ritchie Marlboro Road just before 9:30 a.m. They say 23 students on board. They say a driver had rear-ended the bus, which then caught fire. You can see here. The driver, along with those students, have no reported injuries. And new at noon, a driver has crashed into a home garage just this morning. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue responded on Aquarius Avenue in Aspen Hill. The driver was rescued, and the driver inside of the car has non-life-threatening injuries. What led up to that wreck remains under investigation. And happening now, the fight over a massive data center campus in Northern Virginia will take center stage today. It's called the Digital Gateway Project. If approved, we could see one of the largest data centers in the world, built not far from the historic Manassas battlefield. DC News Now's Liberty Zabala reports from Woodbridge to break it all down.
Well, there are 3 rezoning bills up for a vote today that could pave the way for the creation of the Digital Gateway Project, and not everyone is happy about it. Now, last November, the board approved a comprehensive plan that gave the green light for the Digital Gateway Project, but neighbors in the Gainesville area raised concerns with the developer's campus data centers. A crowd even protested the development. Now, the Piedmont Environmental Council notes the Digital Gateway would be the largest data center campus in the world, stating it would be equivalent in size to all of Data Center Alley in Loudoun County. Now, opponents worry about noise pollution, environmental concerns, and disruption to nearby historical sites. Compass data centers say their design will help avoid their issues of concern, and they say their centers will bring jobs and tax revenue to the county.
It's time for Prince William County to get into the digital age and become a recipient and have better commercial tax revenues.
The Compass and QTS both actually that you want to put data centers in, that's fine, but put them in the right areas.
Now, it's also important to note that the current board is in a lame duck period, and a new board is expected in January. For now, in Prince William County, Liberty Zabala, DC News Now.
Thanks to Liberty in Woodbridge. Turning now to Damon Matson at our Weather Center. Damon, some of us are still wringing ourselves out from the rain yesterday, but it is sunny and cold. That could help out.
Yeah, the sunshine certainly will, but those cold temperatures, oh, it was a wake-up call out there this morning for some of us here, folks, as we had to get those cars started a little ahead of time. Give yourself a little bit of time to just warm things up. We had frost out there on the windshields, and this, of course, fits with these low temperatures early this morning. Look at that. We had 20s across pretty much the entire DMV. A few locations, Manassas, Culpeper, down into Northern Virginia, fell into the teens. DC just barely hung on to the low 30s. One slightly warmer spot out there early this morning. So no doubt it was a cold start, but nothing too out of the ordinary here for mid-December. And now, with all of that sunshine in place, thankfully, we have jumped up into the 40s. We still have a couple of locations like Winchester in the 30s, but it is steadily getting warmer throughout the afternoon here, but it will still remain at least a little bit chilly as we go throughout the day. The good news is, though, that chilly air is not coming along with as much wind as we experienced yesterday. We have about 8 to 12 mile-per-hour winds, keeping things moving out there. And this time around, these winds are out of the south, and that should go along with that sunshine to help to warm us up a little bit more so than yesterday. By later this afternoon, we're looking at temperatures hanging out in the mid to upper 40s. A few locations like southern Maryland, northern Virginia could hit 50 degrees. So all in all, looking like a very pleasant Tuesday ahead of us. But as we move throughout the rest of the week, is there any unsettled weather that we're going to have to deal with? We'll have a look at that full forecast coming up here in just a bit.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Damon. In Frederick, several people were rescued just this morning from a house fire. Officials responded to East Patrick Street in the downtown area just before 5 a.m. On site, they rescued 3 people from the 3-story home. It was vacant at the time. One person was transported for minor injuries. The cause, well, it's under investigation by the Frederick County Fire Marshal's Office. And big news for sports fans overnight. A possible move across the Potomac River for our local NBA and NHL teams. According to the Washington Post, the Commission of Virginia Legislators has approved a plan to move the Wizards and Capitals from the district to Alexandria. Our Lex Juarez is in the Potomac Yard neighborhood with more.
Well, this would be huge for not only the Commonwealth, but for D.C. as well, and for 2 different reasons, right? I mean, here in Virginia, in this region, we've seen year after year as it's continued to grow, and this would just expand on that. But over in Chinatown and the district, it would be devastating. The amount of traffic and business these games bring into the city is big, and the Wizards and Capitals have played right there in Chinatown for decades. Now the threat of this change comes from Virginia lawmakers. They have plans to bring a massive development to Potomac Yard, complete with a place for basketball and hockey teams.
I'm really excited. I mean, it'd be great to have new entertainment venues, Caps and Wizards playing local.
Additionally, people could find themselves coming to the area for live music, with a separate concert venue also proposed with this plan.
Parking at Capital One is a huge hassle. So the area is growing, obviously. We have the biggest company, I think, in the world moving in. You have an airport right here, so it's a perfect location.
Folks who live in the neighborhood say the draw of Northern Virginia speaks for itself.
In addition to all the new construction going on, Amazon, Virginia Tech, it'd be a great addition to the city.
And with this proposal on the table in a thriving, growing part of our region, it does give leverage to getting that money for these improvements. Now, Mayor Bowser has said that she's working with Council Chairman Phil Mendelson on a plan, and they will be giving that proposal to Monumental Sports coming soon. In Alexandria, I'm Lex Juarez, DC News Now.
Our thanks to Lex. Dozens of people in Prince George's County are calling for accountability after a police officer was acquitted in a high-profile court case. That officer, Corporal Michael Owen, was found not guilty in the death of William Green. Back in 2020, Green was handcuffed in the front seat after a car accident. There was a struggle between the two. Moments later, the officer shot Green several times. Well, those rallying are calling on the state and U.S. officials to investigate. The Prince George's County State Attorney's Office, the family of the victim, received a $20 million settlement from the county after that incident. Owen remains suspended without pay. The state's attorney's office for Prince George's County says, quote, "Our office put forth a strong prosecution against former Corporal Owen, supported by solid evidence and facts in the possession of the state. Despite our efforts, the jury reached a verdict of not guilty. While we stand by our case and disagree with the verdict, we hold the utmost respect for our legal system and the due process that it ensures." Meantime, a D.C. health clinic is receiving more than $22 million from the U.S. Treasury. The money is going to the Whitman Walker Max Robinson Center at St. Elizabeth's East Campus. Officials say that money will go to continue the expansion of the facility and build a new research facility. Funding is part of the Capital Projects Fund, focused on making the city more equitable.
This investment will also spur more research and innovation at the Max Robinson Center, create over 100 new jobs, provide training opportunities for our residents, and create a pipeline of healthcare talent.
That $22 million will also help support other health and wellness initiatives throughout D.C. Staying in the district, an alarming number of kids were chronically absent last year at school. We're talking 43% of students have missed 10% of school days. The number is slightly down from the year before, but historically high compared to pre-pandemic levels. The loss of learning can have huge impacts on a student's future, as you can imagine. Our Marielle Carbone explains.
DC has some of the highest chronic absenteeism rates in the country.
And that's a concern for Jessica Giles with education reform now.
When students attend school consistently, they're more likely to graduate, go on to get and hold great jobs. So this has a direct connection to our students' future.
According to data from the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, 43% of DC students, or 2 in 5, were chronically absent in the 2022-23 school year. And that means they missed 10% of their school days, excused and unexcused. It's down slightly from 48% the year prior. When it comes to chronic truancy, 37% of DC kids had at least 10 unexcused absences last year.
It's still unacceptably high.
Giles says there are steps the district can take, like a nudge notification.
Letting families know, like, hey, your child has missed this number of days.
OSSE says chronic absenteeism is a top priority, and the agency is expanding trainings and supports provided to schools that promote mental health and wellness for students and staff, among other things.
It's not so cut and dry out there.
Still, parents like LaJoy Johnson Law say the issues aren't black and white.
My experience has been, if she's absent, then we're at the doctor.
Her daughter, a 7th grade student with disabilities, is considered chronically absent. She says there are many factors that can cause a student to show up late or not at all.
Kiddos are literally like crossing the city to go to school. Me and my child, we travel from Ward 8 to Ward 1. And if you're in traffic, that could be like an hour.
Reporting for DC News Now, I'm Marielle Carbone.